You tell him I'm coming, and hell's coming with me, you hear? Hell's coming with me!
You know, I was doing a live stream today talking about how disappointed I was in Oklahoma and where they played against Navy and how the coaching staff performed in that game as well. But a little did I know the disappointment was going to grow. Immediately after I got through with that live stream, I find out 10 minutes later that Zach Alley is leaving Oklahoma as the defensive coordinator to become the defensive coordinator at West Virginia, which has sort of changed my opinion on a few things when it comes to Brent Venables. And a lot of Oklahoma fans share my opinion as well. Let's talk about it. Is the home of the Common Joe and the Common Sally in the know, even more so than all those media talking heads. And today's four horsemen shout outs go to Tatted Sailor, Tim Gillespie, Brad Friend, and Bay Sooner. I'm mounted up and saddled up and ready to go, and they're going to help us with today's college football invasion. Also, if you have any ideas for the show or if you want to be on the show, all you got to do is hit me up on Twitter, AKAX, at OCF Productions. Now, getting right to it here. Seems like my opinion of Brent Venables has changed at the end of the year, even during the year when it looked like they may finish with a losing record. I thought they might finish 5-7, but they beat my team, Alabama, and actually finished 6-6. Now, looking back on it, it might have been the better thing had they finished 5-7. Because by going to a bowl game, all it did was amplify things when they lost to an inferior Navy team, in my opinion. Yes, I know they had technically a better record than Oklahoma, but 9-3 is probably a pretty shaky 9-3. Had they been in a major conference, they would have probably went at best 5-7 or 6-6. That being Navy. And I talked about my live stream. And now then I find out that Zach Alley's leaving right after that putrid showing against Navy. And, I mean, that's just the straw that broke the camel's back, man. Because I know Oklahoma only had 56 players going into that game with Navy. I understand that. But still, with 56 players, you should still be able to beat Navy by a couple of scores, I think, especially with the way Navy played against certain teams this year and how they got blowed out in a few of their losses. Now, they played every single one of their games close. I wouldn't be saying that. But the main thing with Brent Venables now is it seems like he's losing control of the program. I've got numerous comments from many Oklahoma Sooner fans out there that actually agree with me. I'm going to bring up a couple of them in a few minutes just to show you an example of what I've been seeing. And I was all for Brent Venables. Like I said, if he finished 5-7 and not went to that bowl game, I was all for giving him one more season because it was his first year in the SEC, and he was left a complete disaster by Lincoln Riley that no other coach really ever had to deal with because the transfer portal and NIL and all that stuff was all brand new to everybody. And a first-year coach having to deal with that in his first gig was something that you could sympathize with. But sooner or later, man, you've got to come to the realization that maybe, just maybe, it's just not the right fit. Maybe the guy's just not cut out to be a head coach. Maybe it's just a one-side-of-the-ball kind of coach. And there's a lot of them out there that are great and make a great living at it. The great Monty Kiffin, for example. Great defensive coordinator, never was a head coach. The whole Zach Alley thing was just a straw on the camel's back for me, because now you got to go out and hire you a defensive coordinator in the middle of a recruiting cycle that's coming up. And you're going to be sort of almost a lame duck coach on the hot seat next year with a new defensive coordinator. Yet again, another coordinator change at Oklahoma. And my boy Killer Breeze brought up the fact, and I agree with him, that if you're just going to be a lame duck coach next year and on the hot seat and have all this controversy following you around all year, you're probably going to have a bad year and you're just wasting one more year of college football. Why not just bring in another guy and let him take his lumps his first year? That way you have an excuse for losing a few games. But with Brent Venables, there's not going to be no excuse. It's just going to be a wasted year. And then that guy that you're going to hire to replace him will have to start over 2 years from now, and you'll be 2 years behind the ball. Why not just go ahead and get your lumps out of the way in 2025, bring in a new coach, a new staff, just, make a clean break. You'll have Lincoln Riley and his stench fully in the rearview mirror now. You'll be done, went through one coaching change and going into a second where you can just start anew. And a lot of people will try to come in here and say, well, it's too late for that. It's too late in the year, or it's not the right time of the year to be firing head coaches and hiring head coaches. That is BS. My team, Alabama, is a good example of that. Nick Saban, when he was hired in 2007, was hired in January. And then when Nick Saban retired, he retired in January. And when we hired Kalen DeBoer, we hired Kalen DeBoer in January. So it's not too late, and it's not the incorrect time of the year to do this. I like Brent Venables. I was rooting for Brent Venables. He's went through a lot of tough stuff with his wife and whatnot. But this is a business. And the AD at Oklahoma, this is going to be his call. And if he doesn't make the right call in the next couple of years, it could be his ass on the line. I know a lot of y'all think that's blasphemy, talking about your AD, because he's been around for a little bit and he's been a pretty good guy, pretty solid athletic director. But I'm just saying, this is the biggest money-making sport in college athletics, number one, with men's basketball being number two. And those two sports are the sports that you need to win at. Winning national championships in softball and gymnastics and all that stuff is great. But in the end, you've got to win at those two big money-making sports consistently, or your job as an AD is not being done. Now, Zach Alley leaving Oklahoma to go to West Virginia for the same exact position, also just something don't sound quite right about that. It almost sounds like Zach Alley knows what's in store for the year coming up. Like maybe he knows something we don't know. That maybe he knows that Brent Venables is going to be a lame duck coach and he wants to get out while he can and get him a defensive coordinator position all unto himself, because I think he was a co-defensive coordinator. So it might not have really been a lateral move. If that's the case, he may be getting the defense all to himself, being able to prove himself on his own, and maybe even move up to being a head coach. And maybe that was his thinking, and it really has nothing to do with Brent Venables in Oklahoma. And this time next year, we may be talking about Brent Venables as proving everybody wrong. And if they keep him and Brent Venables proves us all wrong that are doubting him, man, I'll be the first one to come in here and congratulate him and say I was wrong. Now, let me bring up those comments that I was talking about, just so y'all don't think I'm the only one saying this. Here's the first. It's from Killer Breeze, a.k.a. George Contupus. He said, we will lose even more players if a change is not made at this point. OU now has to do something to fix the optics. The shit looks like it's spiraling out of control. You have to get some new coaching in the room so people have faith that things aren't burning to the ground. And here is another one. Actually, I got quite a few, but I'm just going to share two, just for examples. This one was from Todd Neva. He says, fire Brent. This is the second losing season I've been a fan since 1982. I'm done. And it is the second losing season in 3 years. And I think the last time that may have happened may have been under John Blake. But John Blake had a horrid record. I mean, Brent Venables is twice the coach that John Blake was. Now, you could probably more along the lines, more like compare it to Gary Gibbs if you're going to make a comparison like that. But you guys and gals, drop in the comments section. Tell me what you think about all this. Do you think that Brent Venables should be given another year? Do you think at this point with Zach Alley leaving that it's the straw on the camel's back and that you need to just start anew? Because in the live stream, if you go back and watch my live stream from earlier today, I actually give y'all a list of candidates, 5 candidates that Oklahoma needs to hire, because I don't think that y'all need to go the assistant coach route once again. I think Oklahoma, if they do get rid of Brent Venables, needs to go the head coaching route. And some of the ones that I named were Matt Campbell of Iowa State, who just won a record 11th game for Iowa State, who never won 11 games in a season. I think he'd be a good candidate, as well as Chris Kleiman at Kansas State, and maybe Kirk Cignetti at Indiana. And if you're going to hire an assistant, a hot name, I threw Glenn Schumann out there. He's defensive coordinator at Georgia. But that's all I got to say about that today. Like, share, comment, and subscribe to this channel. Also, there's a little heart down here with a little money dollar sign in the middle. If you want to smash that heart, throw a few dollars in the coffers, cut the middleman out, so to speak. I'll be happy with that. Also, you can join with the Outlaw Posse. It's not but $2.99 a month. It's just 75 cents a week. It's just a half a bottle of water for Outlaw. You'll get your badge. You'll get deputized. And you might even be the comment of the day, as well as get that random 4 horseman shout out that the guys got earlier in this podcast. KMCA to all the other teams. Class is now officially dismissed.